You could say 201 is a lucky number, but so is this one, and this, and these.
Yeah.
But to understand why,
I was living here for a long time.
you need to meet Frank first.
I don't know how many times I fell down here, especially when it's icy.
Living here, across 3 sets of tracks,
Whew.
you all right? Near the woods,
Grabber got me.
in the shadow of downtown Columbus. Where was your tent?
Mine was right here.
Right here.
Yeah, right there where that sign is.
Frank lived here for 4.5 years. So this was home.
That was my home.
More than 1,600 days. The makeshift camp now bulldozed, the 10 tents and dozen or so residents displaced.
It brings me a lot of memories back. We had good days up here, we had bad days, ups and downs, what we expect from a homeless person, you know.
His journey to homelessness began as so many others.
Way.
This one here. Yeah.
With a workplace injury.
Work was no good. Couldn't do it.
He went from living in his home to a campground, to a car with his girlfriend.
When she passed away, I've been back on the street on the porch. I was sleeping on the porch.
He washed up in a Mount Carmel restroom, got food at the Holy Family Soup Kitchen,
You don't starve from Columbus.
counted on the kindness of strangers for other things.
Morning, Mount Carmel.
I had 2 good friends, Ray and Angie. They came always up to the camp. They brought what we really needed, like propane gas to heat and cook.
Finally, 8 years after hitting the streets, Frank hit the lottery, so to speak. Number 201.
What is 201?
This is my apartment where I'm living in, and it's sweet. I can't get enough looking at it.
Finally, his own place. He's most proud of his closet.
Why is that so important to you?
I can hang my clothes up, don't laying around on the floor or on the beds. I love it to death.
And a bathroom with a tub.
The first important thing what I did, I had the bathtub half full of water, sitting in there for 2 hours.
Frank got his apartment through Housing First, a partnership between the Community Shelter Board and, in this case, National Church Residences. The idea, give a homeless person a home first and take care of everything else afterwards.
I think it offers hope for them. It offers them a chance to start again. It offers them a chance to start where they are.
People like Frank get subsidized housing, but have access to health care, employment services, mental health, and substance abuse treatments, all designed to stabilize them and rebuild their lives. Frank can't believe his good fortune.
I've been lucky, but I'm really lucky at I moved in on the 24th December, on Christmas Eve. See, God blessed me there.
But he also knows there are many more people waiting for their lucky number.
I hope that my friend's gonna find a home too. There's still a lot of people out there.
I just want to come out and protest and let these people know what they're doing to us.
Valley View homeowner Gary Hicks says
It's even hard to breathe under here.
it's time to start an army.
I just couldn't do it no more. I didn't sleep last night.
He wants to wage war on the warehouse, and it stink.
It's rotten. It's worse than dead people.
It's kept him in prison in his West Side home.
Flies are outrageous. We're going out and buying the fly strips. We got them in every room.
He says the battle started 3 weeks ago when this warehouse on Valley View Road went up in flames. The trailers here stored ham that's been out in the sun, and the rotting meat
Pardon?
is now attracting rats.
Okay, it was an accident. Well, no, it's gone way past that. It's way past that.
He's calling on other homeowners to join him.
What does he want them to do? They're cleaning it up.
Kevin Tharp's home borders the cleanup and has spoken with the owner himself.
He just tried to say, you know, he's sorry for the inconvenience, and he was waiting on city permits to get it cleaned up.
But Hicks says an apology won't pay his electric bill. Your electric doubled.
Yeah, the electric doubled because we have to run the AC all night long.
So he says he'll stay out here with his mask and haste. Are you wearing it to prove a point?
No, I'm wearing it so I can breathe.
Until his message
Do you think you've gone nose blind a little bit?
I've got a strong stomach.
helps clear
It's getting hard to breathe.
the air.
This is what happens when too much electric current is fed to a defective circuit breaker. In slow motion, Sparks, smoke, flame, heat, everything necessary to start a fire.
Okay, I'm gonna run downstairs and shut the main breaker off downstairs.
Until recently, that circuit breaker was attached to this electric panel on the second floor of my house.
Okay, we're off.
Steve Turner is the electrician I hired to troubleshoot that tripping breaker, and I recorded Steve with my cell phone. As soon as he identified the panel, he told me it needed to be replaced.
What makes these Federal Pacific bad?
Sometimes the breakers don't trip when the branch circuit is overloaded.
Federal Pacific stab lock electric panels were installed in homes nationwide from the mid-50s to the 1980s. A New Jersey court found that Federal Pacific Electric committed testing fraud, claiming circuit breakers met Underwriters Laboratory standards when they knew they were defective. Even though the Consumer Product Safety Commission investigated in 1983, the agency failed to issue a recall, saying it didn't have the money to do so. Federal Pacific has been out of business for many years, and electricians nationwide have been dealing with the problem ever since.
Worst case scenario is having a fire.
Electrician Bob Smith says Federal Pacific stab lock panels and breakers are a fire hazard.
Not all of the breakers are bad. Some of them will do their job, but it's just that one. If you have that one, it could be that instance between fire or not.
The Ohio Fire Marshal doesn't know how many fires are started by Federal Pacific panels because it doesn't track them. But this fire near Cincinnati was blamed on a defective FPE panel, leaving this home with $250,000 in damage. So how common are these Federal Pacific electric panels? Well, we chose this neighborhood. All the houses were built in the late 70s and had planned to go door to door until we found one. What do you suppose happened at the very first house?
It's Federal Pacific Electric Company from Newark, New Jersey. Kurt, I didn't know anything about Federal Pacific until 2 years ago when we were having a new heat pump and furnace put in.
Roy Jaycock says he was warned, and an article from Angie's List confirmed the dangers.
The tests have proven that 1 in 4 stab lock breakers will be defective.
He says replacing his panel has been on his to-do list.
It cost me some sleepless nights. It's a fire risk. You worry about that.
I worried too and wanted to know how dangerous my panel really was. So once Steve removed it,
we test circuit breakers for a living.
We took it to Power Solutions Group, a company that tests and maintains large power electrical systems, sometimes using these enormous circuit breakers on high voltage transmission lines.
They protect the lines, the overhead lines, so if there is a fault or a failure or an overload, these devices will disconnect power to cities.
My panel is nothing like those.
It actually puts the breaker through real life conditions.
But the test is the same.
So we simulate an overload on the breaker to see if it can handle it.
My panel failed the tests over and over and over again.
It actually threw quite a few sparks and wasn't able to carry that higher current that would be indicative of a fault.
A fault that he says could have led to a fire. Chillingly, they found previous burn marks inside my panel wall.
It's a whole box.
As for Roy Jaycox, he says it's time to do what he should have done 2 years ago.
I really need, the next phone call I make should be to an electrician to have that box replaced.
You ready?
Am I ready? I'm ready.
It's early, and I'm checking in at Riverside Hospital.
Kurt Ludlow, L-U-D-L-O-W.
I'm about to have surgery for the first time since I was a little boy.
Let's get this prostate out. Who needs a prostate anyway, right? I don't. What have you learned about me and my prostate?
All right, so in your case, Kurt, what we have found is that the cancer looks to be contained.
Diagnosed with prostate cancer at age 55. My treatment choice, remove the damn thing.
This is the bladder, this is the rectum back here, and this is the prostate.
My surgeon, Dr. John Bergers.
Now, in order to do the surgery, we come in through here. So you can, and we push the bladder up this way. So you can see how that's a little tiny space.
Too tiny for a surgeon's hands to fit, but the right size for a robot.
This is Kurt Ludlow. Today we're doing robotic prostatectomy on him.
A robotic prostatectomy is considered minimally invasive surgery. You'll see why in a moment. Within minutes of being wheeled into the operating room, they put me to sleep. The surgical team is assembled.
I'm Dr. Bergers, I'm the surgeon.
I'm Joey assisting.
Valve scrub. Here's circulator.
Gave anesthesia.
The rock music is cranked up, and the surgery begins. Dr. Burgers will operate through just a few small holes using miniature instruments that are attached to the Da Vinci robot. First, a camera is inserted into my body, giving the doc a 3D high-definition view inside. He'll manipulate the robot, working remotely from several feet away.
The instruments are placed into these holes, and then they're attached to a robotic device. Now, the advantage of that is that whatever I do with my hands on the outside, it does for me on the inside. So it's as if I had you open without opening you.
Everything is magnified 15 times.
And there's the bladder right there. And the prostate exists down in here. So we gotta go down in there.
Slowly and deliberately, he works his way to the cancerous prostate, carefully cutting it free while protecting and saving important nerves that surround it. He puts the prostate into a plastic bag and pulls it out of my body. Then everything's reconnected.
All right, we're flushing the bladder, looks good, no leaks.
And with that, I'm cancer-free.
Okay, there it is, all done.
This is what they came for.
That's the prostate right there. That's the prostate with it out, yep.
Minutes later, they're waking me up
Deep breath in.
and preparing to move me to the recovery room.
We're on our way to the recovery area now.
A few hours later, still bloated from the gas they used to expand my belly, I'm at peace with my decision.
So surgery isn't an option for everybody, and it's not the right option for everybody. For me, it was the right option because I just wanted it out. I didn't want to have to worry about it anymore, and I feel like this was the best decision for us.
January, Todd Payne getting off the bus after work, crossing the street, walking up the stairs to his cot at the Friends of the Homeless shelter. At the time, employed with nowhere to live, separated from his kids.
My next thing is to get an apartment, and after that get a vehicle so I can make it easier to get to work and places I need to go.
That was then.
Yeah, you got about 40 seconds on our puppy.
4 months later, Todd's in his apartment, still works at City Barbecue in Westerville, been promoted. He's the carver now, loves his restaurant co-workers.
They're more than friends, they're more like family because they were there for my whole situation and everything.
But getting to his job remains a challenge. Some days he starts walking at 3 a.m. because the buses don't run.
It takes me about 3 hours to walk. I walk from where I live on Cleveland Avenue to here, so it takes a while, but I've learned to get up and do it. So
That's pretty remarkable.
I guess it's just my job, I guess. I mean, I still have to do it.
You can see why manager DeJuan Giles hired Todd.
His dedication in general is just amazing. I mean, in order to get up that early and still make it here an hour early and willing to clock in and help out and do anything, it's very rare.
You had said one of your goals was to try to work, save up, and get a car. How's that going?
I've tried saving it, just my bills.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Are you Todd?
Yes, sir.
My name is Noah Thomas. I own a little dealership in Mount Vernon, Ohio called Affordable Autos.
Yes, sir.
You know what? I'd like to present you with a car, Todd. I've seen your story. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I want to help you out.
Thanks.
Todd can't speak. Noah Thomas says from the moment he watched our first story with Todd, he knew he had to help.
I saw the story aired, and my wife and my daughter, we talked, and this guy really looked like he needs a break.
It should make you a good little car.
Yes.
For Todd,
I ain't had a car in a very long time.
This gift represents a new start and a life-changing moment.
I get to see my kids more than I do. I'll get to see my kids more.
And you won't have to get up in the middle of the night and walk to work.
Yeah.
All because of the generosity of a stranger.
Maybe this will be an encouragement for other people to step forward and help people out.
Yeah.
I really hope it is.
It's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Now get back to work.
Yeah.